Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi man wala. I had a couple of points to add to the hadith we were discussing the last time, which is the hadith that talks about Inkar al-Munkar. Remember the hadith when I think Marwan ibn Hakam wanted to give the khutbah before the salah, and what was the reason that he gave for that? Do you remember? Was anybody here? So people wouldn't leave. Yeah, so people wouldn't leave. So that was his justification. And then Abu Sa'id al-Khudri narrated the hadith. Of course, somebody tried to stop him, but he wouldn't listen. And then Abu Sa'id al-Khudri narrated this hadith. من رأى منكم منكرا فليغيره بيده فإن لم يستطع فبلسانه فإن لم يستطع فبقلبه وذلك أضعف الإيمان, which means that whoever sees a violation of the rules of Allah, munkar, haram being committed, he should stop it. فليغيره, it's a commandment, and the commandment here indicates it's an obligation on the Muslim to stop it. If he has the capability to stop it, when it says biyadi, means physically, means that he actually makes sure that this doesn't happen, such as if somebody has power and authority in a place, such as a munkar in your house, or a ruler, or somebody who is a boss in a place and finds something that is a violation to the laws of Allah, he can physically prevent that. فَإِن لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ فَبِلِسَانِهِ. But sometimes you don't have that kind of authority, and the most you can do is to give advice verbally. But then sometimes even that will not be accepted in certain situations, as we all know, and then the least you can do is to basically dislike and hate this violation from your heart, and this is فَبِقَلْبِ, change it inside, which means not to accept this situation mentally or spiritually. This hadith also shows, I highlighted some points from the other book of explanation that we've been using by Imam al-Athiobi. This hadith shows that Iman is not constant. It does increase and does decrease. Some people can have stronger Iman, some people can have weaker Iman, according to the hadith that ذلك أضعف الإيمان. In some narrations وليس وراء ذلك من الإيمان حبة خردل. There is no Iman beyond that more than a seed of a mustard seed. خردل هو mustard, huh? Mustard. So which means that the Iman that is left is the weight of a mustard seed, which is very little. If the person doesn't even have the Iman to dislike what is happening, then his Iman is so weak in the heart that it is less in weight than the mustard seed. And remember the hadith of Shafa'a, اخرجوا من النار من كان في قلبي مثقال حبة خردل من إيمان. They will still come out from the fire of hell, يعني. But so this is a link between the two hadiths. ومنها قوله فليغير هو للوجوب. نعم. The changing the munkar, الأمر بالمعروف والنهي عن المنكر, to enjoin good and forbid evil. This is an obligation on the ummah as a community in general. But it sometimes becomes an obligation on the person if he's the one in charge, and he is the one who is seeing it and he's in charge. Then it becomes an obligation on that person. But in general, it is fard kifaya, which means that it's an obligation on the community to ban and prevent and forbid what is evil and what violates the laws of Allah in the community. Now, the person has to know the munkar. He has to know that there is a munkar, not think there is. Such as you can't think, oh, this person is committing a violation or haram in his house. That's none of your business. We're not allowed to go into people's houses to know what they're doing. So if somebody is doing a haram, forbidden act secretly, that doesn't apply. That it's between him and Allah. You are not obligated to go and look after him or search to change that. You also have to know that this is a munkar. You have to have enough evidence from the Sharia that this is actually a violation and haram. And then number three, you have to have the capability to change the situation or give the advice. If you don't have that kind of capability, such as this can lead to maybe some harm to you or a grave harm to you, then again you're not obligated. You're not obligated to do that. Sometimes also somebody is in a state that if you actually give them the advice, they will commit a bigger munkar. They will commit a bigger haram. They could be angry, for instance, and then, or maybe you're giving them the advice in front of other people, so it gets really more angry and says something that's even more evil. So then you also avoid giving the advice in that kind of situation. And then another point is that the munkar, the haram or the forbidden act, cannot be something that is upon which there's disagreement between the different scholars or the different schools of law. And that actually applies to many things. So some people have a tendency to criticize everything just because it differs from the opinion that they have adopted in deen, or the opinion of the sheikh that they are following. And that's a huge problem. You see lots of this on the internet going back and forth, and people wasting their time, because these kind of differences in opinion have been there since the time of the Sahaba and will continue to be there. There'll always be different ways of understanding the texts of Sharia and different ways of applying them, unless something is so obvious that there's no disagreement about. Well, there's no disagreement that alcohol is haram, for instance. No disagreement that zina, fornication is haram. These are no disagreement that riba is haram. Something obvious like this, yes, feel free to change the munkar. But you find some people coming and trying to give advice or trying to prevent people from praying Taraweeh more than 8 rak'at, for instance. Because they say, oh, the sunnah is 8 rak'at, and beyond that you have gone against the sunnah. No. There's difference in opinion on this matter. Some people say, oh, you shouldn't do a second jama'ah. There's only one jama'ah, you don't do a second jama'ah. There's so many things. Some people tell you, don't put your hand here, put it here. Don't do it this way, don't do it that way. There's different ways of doing certain things. So those things in which there's a difference in opinion, there's no point in trying to change it. If you feel that the opinion adopted by the other person is such a weak opinion, and you have the knowledge that it's a very weak opinion and that the vast majority of scholars are against it, you can give advice. You can give advice. But if he insists and he does have a basis for adopting this opinion, such as a previous well-renowned scholar who has accepted such an action, then you can't force him to change what he is doing. You cannot force him to change what he is doing. Now, how many minutes? We've been going 8 minutes. The inkar munkar, forbidding evil and enjoining good, is not only left for the ruler. It is for every person who has authority in whatever place he has authority. Now, some munkar is only left for the scholars. Certain things are so specific and so detailed that most people don't know about them, actually. And these kind of violations are left for the scholars to maybe work upon it amongst themselves, not for the general public to indulge in such things. What other things have I highlighted? Yes, and the person has to be very gentle in trying to change or giving the advice. Imam Shafi'i says, if you give advice to your brother secretly, you may achieve your goal, but if you give him the advice openly and publicly, then you have disgraced your brother. We talked about not searching for the munkar. You don't go around searching for the evil to change it. They say that even if somebody heard, if, for instance, music, if you consider music haram, and there's also difference in opinion in this matter, if you consider music haram, and you hear the music coming out from somebody's house, somebody that you know, they say you don't knock on the door and try to go in the house to give the advice. You can maybe, just like you heard it from outside, you can maybe try to deliver the message from outside. That's the most you're supposed to do. That is if you consider the music haram. There's lots to be said about this topic of music. Also, another point, I'll mention a couple of hadiths here. إذا عملت الخطيئة في الأرض كان من شهدها فكرهها كمن غاب عنها ومن غاب عنها فرضيها كان كمن شهدها. The meaning is that whenever a sin is committed on earth, whoever witnessed it and disliked it and hated it inside, he is equal to the one who did not witness it, which means there's no sin on that person. While the one who was away and he felt it was okay, he did not dislike it, he is like the one who actually witnessed it. Follow? So this is تغيير بالقلب. In another narration, من غاب عنها فأحبها فكأنه حضرها. Whoever was away and liked it, he is as if he was actually there. He will acquire sin for doing that. Also, if a community has the power to change and they choose not to change the evil that they see, then this is where all these ahadith of punishment, collective punishment, coming to that community, to the ones who are committing and the ones who remain passive. That is, when you see all these ahadith and ayat talking about this matter, this is a situation it applies to. That the community had the ability to change this kind of munkar, this kind of violation, and they left it. They didn't care about the religion of Allah. And this is in the hadith narrated by Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. ما من قوم يعمل فيهم بالمعاصي ثم يقدرون على أن يغيروا فلا يغيروا إلا يوشك الله أن يعمهم بعقاب. He says, whenever sin is committed in a community and they are able to change it and they do not change it, this is when the punishment of Allah is drawing near to them. يعمهم. يعمهم means it will involve the punishment will involve the whole community. In some narrations, ما من قوم يعمل فيهم بالمعاصي وهم أكثر ممن يعملوا. They are stronger and more in number than the people who are committing the sin, and they didn't stop them. You follow? And you see the hadith also, the hadith of the Safina. You remember the hadith of the ship, where the Prophet ﷺ gives the example of a ship where it has two levels. People are on the top level, people are on the bottom level. Yes. And the people on the bottom, when they needed water, they would go up to the top and throw their buckets and get water from the it was obviously clear water or something they can drink or use. But then they said, okay, why don't we just take a shortcut and make a hole in the ship, get water directly. And this shows you, obviously it's an example of the sin. The sin is trying to get a shortcut that's not going to work. It's going to bring more damage eventually. Yeah? But it just will take some time. They'll enjoy the first 2 buckets of water. So these hadiths apply to this now. Okay, there's more to be said about this. We will stop here because this subject of Amr Ma'ruf and Nahy Anil Munkar has lots of details to it. We'll stop here, inshallah.